Good morning, Amanda. Thank you for the referral, babe.
You are so welcome. It's great to see you.
All right. I love this. Everybody's getting along and, two people from two completely different companies all across the United States sharing referrals. And I'm so happy because I connected the two of you. So, all right. So a couple of things. Some of you are new to this call. Some of you aren't. Selena is my business partner and my coach. She makes most of the calls. And if I can't make them, she's on them. So, if she can't make them, I'm on them. So she is highly qualified as a coach, over 25 years coaching in the real estate industry and building teams. She is a very young mother of 5. And you be quiet, Selena, I'm talking. Didn't ask for your opinion. So
thank you for the young comment. Appreciate it.
No worries. So, and the other thing too, that this call is a call that I started almost 7 years ago. And for a lot of years, we were doing them every Friday. And then my schedule changed and we changed them to the first and third Fridays. I believe that we've been able to bring more quality in by bringing it twice a month. And it's been obviously a lot easier for me to bring more fresh material each time. Now, only 2 rules about this call. Well, 3. 1, everybody's welcome. Doesn't matter what industry, even though the majority of people that get on here are on the real estate industry. I've had some calls where people got on when we did business planning clinics and people brought some insurance agents. They brought people from other sales industries. The main thing that I wanted to say, besides that everyone's welcome, is there's no recruiting on here and there's no selling anything. The only time I've allowed people to sell things is if they are the guest speaker and they happen to be a coach or they have a book or something like that. So I do want to get started with this. This is the first call of the year, the first Free Friday coaching call. And today is the 4th official business day of the year. And yet we're in day 6. So I'm going to ask you a question that I kind of sent out on the email. Another thing that I want to talk about really quickly is, if you want to be on the email list, okay, I'll need your email. We're developing a system through our people that send out the email where you will be able to somehow just input your email address somewhere and it'll magically get added to the email list. And the other thing is Betty Fernandez, my friend in Central Coast of California, has been telling me about the difficulty of finding all of these on YouTube because they are recorded. And she said something to me on a text this morning that I don't understand because I'm not the techie guy on the team, that I've changed channels. So I don't know what that means, but we'll get to the bottom of it. So if you want to see recordings from before September, I am going to suggest that the 4 calls that we did in October and November, that if you feel stuck, you go back and redo your business plan workbook, okay? And your business plan workbook link is in every single email I send you. Every single email I send you, down at the very bottom are a bunch of links to some amazing things. And the business plan workbook is in there. So if you did not get an opportunity to go through one of the 15 or 20 business planning workshops that I did at the end of the year, I also did it in a 4-call series where the first call in October, second call in October, first call in November, and second call in November, all we did the business planning clinic from start to finish. So you can look those over and see them and get yourself started. Here's the one question I want to ask you to get the day started, and that is this question. Did you promise yourself you would not do something anymore in 2023? Or did you promise yourself something that you would be doing every day or on occasion in 2023, of which both of those questions lead to, have you stopped doing it or started doing the thing you said? And the reason I say this is a lot of times we get busy right before the New Year's and then we just continue the same habits, expecting to have a different result in 2023. This is something that you have to start with introspection. If you don't start the year with introspection, then I'm going to tell you folks, it's really going to be a waste of time. In other words, my biggest thing is stop setting goals and resolutions that you have no real commitment to continuing, period. I read a statistic on Google, and if you look something up on Google, it's the absolute truth, right? We all know that. So I read the statistic on Google that said up to 76% of people who set a resolution do not truly believe they will ever complete it. Why waste the time, right? I had this very same experience. Some of you have heard me talk about my love for donuts, right? So I had the same experience with donuts. I would keep saying, I'm not going to eat donuts anymore. I'm not going to eat donuts anymore. And that is an impossible thing for me to say. I love them too much. So what I started saying after getting some coaching on, now guess what? I didn't get coaching on my donut habit. I got coaching on my habits in my real estate business. And what I reflected back to was my donuts. Instead of saying something that deep down inside of me felt impossible, I started saying, as it related to my donuts, that I was going to have one donut once a month. That I was going to have one donut once a month, and start thinking about how that happens, right? Most of you have heard about my push-up battle, right? That I got because of our trainer friend, him and one of our best friends. So our trainer friend was Eric the trainer down in Southern California, and then one of our closest friends, like a brother to me, is Charlie Patterson in Bend, Oregon. They were teaching me to do push-ups. This is back in 2017 and 2018, because I hated push-ups my whole life. So in 2018, I committed to start doing push-ups. You guys, most of you have heard the story. I don't want to repeat it, but I started by doing 20 a day for a month. And then when the month was up, I added 5. I was doing 25 a day the next month, 30 a day the next month, and so on and so forth. And I got to, by 62 years old, where I could do 160 push-ups in a day, but I was doing 80 without stopping. Well, then, because it was working so well, I quit. So, and a lot of people do that in real estate. They'll go, I was door knocking and everything was going amazingly well. And they go, then what happened? And then I go, so I stopped. It makes no sense. But yet we, human beings, we have inside of us a sabotage gene, a self-destruction gene. I'm not worthy of all this success gene, right? Like literally, I can remember going to a swimming pool with my sons who were in their early 30s at the time. And I took my shirt off and both my sons go, Dad, since when did you have pecs? Right? Like, so I felt good about myself that my sons would notice that the push-ups made a difference. I stopped, I restarted again, and I couldn't do, from going from 80 without stopping, I couldn't do 30 without stopping. But I just said, when I started the last time, which was September, a few months ago, I said, I'm never stopping again, ever, ever. And if I feel horrible or I'm sick or whatever, I'm still going to do some push-ups every day. So I'm up to 60 a day again already, and I'm up to 40 without stopping. So I'm feeling better about that. Now, how do we relate that? Self-sabotage. I showed my wife, Casey, who, if some of you know her, she's an incredible coach. She's an incredible mentor, but for each other, we're a great mirror. Okay. So we hold up mirrors for each other. And I said, look at this list, 37 things I'm going to add to my daily habits starting on January 1st. And she just laughed and she said, no, you're not. She said, you're not going to add 37 things. Some of them had to do with a face routine, that I would take care of myself on the outside, my supplements, and adding all these different exercises that I was going to do a day. She goes, where are you going to fit those in right now? She goes, add a couple of things that you can be sure of so you have a win. Now, this is something I've coached people on, and yet I was getting that coaching back. So what did I add? I added to my push-up day, I added 50 jumping jacks minimum a day, and I added at least 1 2-minute plank to move up to a 4-minute plank. I don't know if you guys do planks, but anybody here do a plank ever? Okay, Debbie, Kara, all right. Nobody else? Cindy, Shelton, good. John Marie says yes. So Bernadette. So think about, like, I didn't know the proper way. My wife's sister is a workout buff, and she saw me doing a plank. She goes, that's not a plank. She goes, you could be there for 6 minutes like that, but you're not helping any of your body. So when I learned to tuck my butt in and suck my stomach back to my spine and all of these things, planks got a lot harder. And the most I've ever done is 4 minutes. I'm doing 2-minute planks right now, but I want to work my way up. So I don't know what that means to you, but one of the things I had to learn is to not compare myself, right? I'm not comparing myself to you if you can do a 6-minute plank or whatever. I don't care. I just know what I got to work on to be a better me every day. And I haven't missed a day. Then I added this other thing where at the end of my shower, I turn the water to ice cold and I stand under that for 30 seconds after it's turned ice cold. That's something I learned on a documentary that Chris Hemsworth did, the actor. All of these little things. Now, some of you have heard me talk about this, but the most important thing I want to discuss is that transition from 2022 into 2023 and you being a different person, a bigger, better, different person than you were in 2022 so that you can accomplish the things you want. So what does that mean? What is it that you most wanted to do in 2023 overall, big picture? And I'm going to bet for every one of you is to sell more houses than you did in 2022 or to sell more of whatever it is you sell. As I look across the page, across the screens, almost everybody here I know sells real estate, sells homes. So ideally, we want to sell homes. If we're getting to the why, and a lot of people like to dismiss the why because they're like, I'm too busy to have a why. I just need to sell houses because I have bills to pay. And you know what? I go to bed and I sleep better when I know I've got deals in escrow. All right. So there's a couple, 2 or 3 people on here who are brand spanking new in the business, brand spanking new. And hi, Crystal. I didn't see you there. Brand spanking new means what? I don't even know the beginning of this yet, right? But there is one thing we all know. If you're brand spanking new or 43 years in the business like me, we all know one thing. This is a business that relies on you generating leads of people who want to buy or sell a house as soon as possible, period. You look at it any way you want. It's a relationship business. It's a numbers business. It's a this business. No, it's a lead generation business. If you don't lead generate, you don't sell houses. Yes, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. I remember taking my very first listing in 1981. Okay. My dad was selling real estate part-time from the early 70s, and he had a sign, a little rider that said Richard Jihad, because he went by Richard. I was so broke, I couldn't pay attention. You know, I was still in college. I was living with my parents. So I took a white piece of paper because I went by Rick, but I thought I'm not going by Richard. So I took a white piece of paper and covered up the ARD on the sign. That's what I did. Talk about cheesy and cheap. And back then you put your own little metal sign in the lawn. Now I pick up the phone and call and a company goes out and puts a post. But while I'm putting the metal sign in the lawn and putting my sign up, a guy comes from across the street and says, I'm going to probably need you to sell my house soon. Oh my God. I was so excited. I went back to the office, told my broker, who was my uncle, can you believe this? I was listing the house and then some guy came across the street and he looks at me and he says, Rick, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. And I said, wait, what's that mean? And he said, you didn't work for that. I said, yes, I did. I was out in the front yard. And he goes, did you generate any leads? Did you knock on any doors yourself? I said, no. He said, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. But he said, I don't want you to look at that as negative. What I want you to know is that the people that are out working are putting themselves in the way of opportunity. And I'll never forget that my uncle said that, right? So when we start thinking about how we might start being different, you've all heard me say before, and I'm just going to beat that drum a little bit today, not too much. We could start the year to being different, being bigger, better, more confident, more decisive, more determined, more courageous. And we stop making up stories in our heads, number one, and we stop comparing ourselves to others, number two. If that was completely eliminated from your schedule, if it was completely eliminated from your mind, which it won't be, I find myself doing it every day, even though I'm preaching it to all the people I coach and talk to, that comparing yourself to others or looking at other people's productions and or what they did or how they dress or anything. One person told it to me like this: stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides. You don't know their journey. You don't know what they went through. And more than anything, you don't know what they did to get where they are. So stop looking over there and look right here. When I asked the director of speaking for Keller Williams many years ago in 2004, I had just started getting paid to speak by Keller Williams. And I said, people keep coming up to me and saying, I want to do what you do. And one very wise lady looked at me and she said, Rick, when people say they want to do what you do, you say, to do what I do, you have to do what I did. Right? And my dad, wisest guy before, like the quotes my dad used to give me are popular now. He's been dead for 25 years, right? But the quotes he gave us then are very popular now, because he was kind of like, I didn't even realize he used to read Napoleon Hill and all this stuff before, right? So when you look at that and you say that, he would always say, don't judge a man unless you've walked a mile in his shoes. And what that got me is, my dad and mom raised us to accept all people, because we were at 8 years old, I was transferred to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, a country of a Muslim country that was not open to the public, meaning if you were in Saudi Arabia, you were either a citizen or you were there working with the government. And so we started having people come over to our house of different colors, different races, different religions, and everybody, our parents made anybody that was in our house hug them goodnight. Hug them, right? Like, I don't think parents would do that these days, but everybody got a hug goodnight. There was 5 of us, 5 kids, Vicky, Ricky, Timmy, Debbie, and David. That's what my mom and dad said. Vicky, Ricky, Timmy, Debbie, David, time for bed. So we'd line up, say goodnight to all the guests, and go back to our bedrooms. All of these lessons that we get in life move us into what we do for a living. My behavioral style is one that would not normally accept a commission position. And yet here I am at over 40 years of living by a commission. The point is, you have to have that time. If you are not having self-introspection time, you've got kids, you've got a significant other, you've got to make money, all of that stuff starts to weigh on you, and you never stop to take time. I had a talk with somebody on my team the other day who is overwhelmed with the situation that their life is in. Like in all areas, relationships, health, production in the business. This particular person on my team does 3 different jobs, not really jobs so much, but has 3 streams of income that all require that person's immediate attention. Okay. And all of those things. And I said, you'll be free as soon as you accept the discomfort of making tough decisions. And we stopped. I just looked at her like that. I brought my hands up to here and I said, do you know what I mean by that? And she said, I'm pretty sure I do. And I said, say it back to me in your words. And she said, my not moving forward with changing the outcomes in my life is directly proportional to my fear of what's going to happen after I make the decision. Do you get that? And I had a coach that told me once, he said, you don't like telling the truth because you can't stand the storm that comes after you speak your truth. And that was a 1-year coaching that I did with that gentleman. And he said towards the end of the year, he said, once you're willing to withstand the storm that comes after you speak your truth, life will change for you momentously. And some of that truth in our real estate business is, am I willing to be completely 100% present, make the calls I need to make, door knock the doors I need to door knock, subscribe to whatever I have to subscribe to create more sales in my business. And for people that are individuals like all of us on this call, whether we work in a team version or not, or whether we buy internet leads or whatever we do, the game doesn't change. People that have been in the business as long as me will tell you leads aren't a problem. Conversion might be a problem, not leads. But then other people tell you, no, I need leads. And I'll go, well, when was the last time you talked to everybody in your phone, every single person in your phone? And everybody answers the same thing, never. I have never talked to every single person in my phone, right? And you might say, well, if they're in your phone, at some point you talk to them. Yeah, I'm talking about, have you ever called every single person in your phone in a designed small period of time? In the next 3 months, I'll go through all, by the way, I have 27,000 contacts in my phone. Well, in the next 3 months, I'm not calling 27,000 people. The majority, you're going to have about 14 or 1,500 of them in your phone, maybe 300, and you could. The reason I say that is there's always a way to get real estate leads if you're willing to completely be uncomfortable. And all of this started, I want to go back to when I first started talking because, you know, I want to wrap this up with a nice little bow so we can move forward because I've got a couple of really actual executional plans that I want to share with you today. Is that and there's some really good stuff coming up. I'm super excited. One of our upcoming calls is going to be an actual listing consultation. Like I'm going to give you my listing consultation. All right. Cindy, are you bebopping to a song or are you just happy because I'm going to do my listing consultation? Okay. All right.
Yes,
so,
I'm happy to hear your listing presentation.
Okay, good. So, and if I look at my listing consultation over the years, it changed, but pretty much it's got some tweaks in it, but the general gist of my listing consultation has been the same since 1997, 25 years, meaning some of the things I say are still in there from 1997. And yeah, I've tweaked them a little bit because of the change in the marketplace and things like that, the change in the average sale price, all of that stuff makes a little bit of a difference. So as you look at, would someone on here be willing to share something that they said they would do differently in 2023 that you have not yet done on the 6th day of the year? Would anybody be willing to like just have a little quick coaching session with me? Who's raising their hand? Okay. I see Bernadette. Bernadette, why don't you come off mute and let's talk about what that one thing is that you're not doing that you said you do, or that you're doing that you said you wouldn't do.
I am still hesitant to make the first call on a lead that comes in. I would
Okay.
much rather email or chat because it's non-confrontational. They can't make me uncomfortable. And I need to start calling these people.
Oh my God, I love this. Selena, look at Selena's smart ass grin going on right now. We just started having these talks of what we call the 10 days of pain. Now for Kara, my new best friend over there in the corner of my screen, who is brand new to real estate, the 10 days of pain means every time you get a lead, you're going to call, text, and email every single day for 10 straight days.
Until you get them.
Yeah, of course.
Not just for giggles.
Yeah. So, and I got to tell you, Bernadette, I don't know how old you are. I don't know what generation you're in, but I'm going to guess you're Gen X. Would I be right if I said you're Gen X?
Yes, I'm almost 49.
Okay, so you're Gen X. I'm a baby boomer,
Mhm.
and even Gen X started to be less conversation, more text, right? But if you look at millennials, it was almost all no communication by a phone. And guess who's coming back to phone conversations? Gen Z, Zoomers. We call them Zoomers. I don't know if you guys know that, but Gen Z. Mackenzie, are you a Zoomer?
No, I'm technically a millennial. I'm the very last millennial.
So you're born like in 95 or
96.
90? Well, 96 is technically a Zoomer, but
Oh, then maybe I am a Zoomer.
yeah. So it was supposed to be 96 to 2010 was Zoomers, but anyway, so as Zoomers are tending to go back now to more old-fashioned traits. That's what we're seeing. I mean, I'm not the expert, I'm just hearing things. But when I see people saying, no, I think for me, like I was talking to Kara Charlie introduced me to the guy that brought his truck to him, his brand new truck. He's a 25-year-old kid who's studying to be a real estate agent. And he was just not arguing with me. He was a great kid, like reading Robert Kiyosaki. He's really putting himself in a good position to be successful. But, you know, he said, well, I prefer to text with my age group. And I said, texting's okay, so is emails, but phone calls make the difference, right? At some point, you're going to have a conversation. Where do we meet? You know, what are we going to be talking about? Things like that. So having the 10 days of pain is a really big deal. So Bernadette, what I'm going to say to you is that the majority of the reason you won't is the fear of rejection still. And there's also a little bit of self-sabotage. We all know that if I would just pick up the phone and call, I could get a result that would be amazing.
And I do when I get the nerve to call. That's
right.
Usually great.
Yeah. So one of the things I have, not everybody married their mirror. Okay, I happen to marry my mirror, but you can find someone that will be your mirror. Now, I know that you and Bruce have an incredible relationship, and I love that you guys are always on here together and in separate rooms so that you're not hearing each other talk. But but there has to be something. I want to see what Bruce said here. She doesn't understand how powerful she is. That's the problem with every single person on here, is none of us truly understand how amazing or how powerful we are. And other people see us in it, but the same people who see us in it don't understand how powerful they are, even though they're telling us how powerful we are, right, Bruce? Yeah. So it's the game. Go, Selena.
Well, it's that you're going into the conversation with what if they say no?
Mhm.
And what if you just said, but what if they say yes?
Right.
Yeah.
Like
If-
just dial or answer with what if they say yes?
Yeah. Or ask
Like,
yourself this, Bernadette, if I'm going to make up stories, why don't I make up a story that has a happy ending? Instead, when we make up stories, humans, like you all you read your kids' stories, or you were read stories that all had lovely, happy endings. But when we make up stories in our head, we make up ones that have horrible endings. If I do cold calling, they're gonna hang up on me. You said it, right?
put it out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
Debbie,
thing about, no one says no to Bernadette. I don't think she understands that.
Stop the madness.
I
she
mean,
is pretty charming, isn't she?
I'm not going to wax poetic about her, but she's freaking amazing on the phone.
Yeah.
End of
Here's-
story.
My biggest thing is I hate to inconvenience people. And even if I get them on the phone and they're nice, but I hear noise in the background. I think they're at work. I think they're shopping. I had a lady on the bus.
That's another story you made up.
Yes. And I won't take the 10 minutes that I normally would to have a real full conversation with this woman and get to the nut of what she's looking for. I cut myself off at 2 minutes because I feel like I'm inconveniencing her, even though she hasn't said I am.
There you go.
I've got to stop doing that, self-sabotaging myself.
You know what I tell myself on those, Bernadette? I say, you'll know the truth when they tell it to you. Okay. Debbie, I know you've had your hand up for a bit and I know you want to jump in. So yeah.
So Bernadette, I can absolutely 5,000% relate to you because I'm exactly the same way. And Bruce, I love your support of your wife. I think that is so beautiful. And that should be really, really encouraging. One thing that we did last month in our organization is we called it a Monday Mayhem. And on Monday, we set aside time for prospecting and calling people. We were on a Zoom and everybody was muted. And I don't know what it was. And because I can relate to you, maybe this will help you. Have a couple of people that you're being accountable to about these phone calls. We were on a Zoom, we were muted, we were making our phone calls. And let me tell you, I was making 30 calls during that time block. And I would just pick up my phone and go, you know what, screw it. All right, send. And I'd just make the call.
Yeah.
For some reason, I had the courage to do it. And the fear was not the same. The anxiety was not the same. It was gone. And when somebody had a win, if they got a listing appointment, we put it in the chat. And then if everybody was off the phone, we'd like, yeah, and we'd scream and yell and, do the hand signals. Something, I don't know the psychological significance to that, but something about being on the Zoom and having it on my screen in one of my windows made that anxiety go away.
Right.
It
See,
was
we do
weird.
have a 9 to 11 with the group I'm with EXP. We have a 9 to 11 where there's only usually 4 of us, but we all turn on our Zoom, mute it, and we're supposed to do our lead gen. And I find myself being the only one without my lips moving. And I've got to change that,
Change your mindset. Change your
Yeah.
mindset. Because trust
Yeah.
me, I am right there with you, sister.
Yeah. And I feel
Yeah.
guilty. I feel silly. I'm like, why am I even on here? Because I'm not doing what they're telling me to do anyways. I just wanted to show my face like, hey, I'm trying.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Selena put it in the chat group, and there is a lot of power in power hours because it's what do we call it? The wisdom of the crowd. Like everybody is inspired by the others. And I can tell you, I door knock so much better when I take brand new agents with me and I have them stand on the sidewalk. I get much more courageous. I'm like, they're watching me. I can't fail, right? I can't do this. I have to stand up. And I've been the most courageous at door knocking when there's been 3 brand new agents on the sidewalk watching me, right? Or if I'm calling leads. Selena and I were on a Zoom just a couple of weeks ago, and one of our leads came into me instead of one of our agents on the team through their KV Core while we're on the Zoom. So I just said, Selena, I'm just going to pick this up and call it right now. It seems kind of like it's a good lead. And Selena was on Zoom from South Carolina. I'm here in California, and she started recording me through Zoom what I was saying, and we converted the lead like instantly just with a phone call. Even though deep down, Selena has no way of knowing. I'm like, I'm going to call this, but my coach and my business partner is listening in. I got to be freaking amazing, right? And I think that's what contributed to me being so sharp on the phone.
He killed it. He killed it,
Of course.
guys.
And you know, most of you are going to go, well, he's been doing it for 42 years. So that doesn't mean I don't have the same damn fears.
Right.
I tell people now, for the first 10 doors I knock on, until 10 people have answered the door, my right knee still shakes, right? I actually wear slightly looser pants when I go door knocking, so nobody sees the right knee shaking, right? So look, if you're brand new or sort of new, or you're just not loving lead generation, people say, I'm never going to door knock. Don't. Find something else that you're more comfortable or less uncomfortable than door knocking, and do that. But none of it is really going to be all that comfortable when you're asking people about buying and selling real estate. But if you haven't spent some time just talking to people about life, about them, you got no business talking about real estate anyway until you've connected with them. Go ahead. No, you go.
I'm going to put it in a different perspective as well. Okay. So I was coaching a client that I have in Denver, and he had a newer agent join the team, and he was really struggling with answering the phone. Like, he didn't want to, the leads would come in and he would just let it go. And occasionally he might text, or he would just let it go for 2 days, 3 days. And these were leads that were actively stating that they wanted help in buying a home. And I said, I just got to figure out, like, they're raising their hand and they're telling you they need help. I'm trying to figure out, what is it that's keeping you from getting in touch with these people? And he said, I'm just worried they're going to turn me down, and I'm worried about the rejection. And I said, but I'm trying to understand, they're raising their hand. They're coming through the system and they're saying that they need help. And he said, I'm worried that they're going to just reject me. So I happen to know about his personal story. His mother was also on the team, right? And I said, I'm going to give you a for instance, and I made it really personal. I said, let's just assume that the person who came through the system is going through a really bad divorce, and she's a single mother now, and she needs to leave that house with her children, and she needs to find a place to live. And she is nervous and scared, and it's the first time she's ever had to go out on her own with her kids. And she is desperately seeking a professional to help her as she's looking to buy a house for the first time on her own. And she's gotten online and she's done some research about what's the best team in Denver for her to work with. And she's Googled it, and she has somehow come across your team's website. And she has done that research, and she said, okay, I'm ready. That this seems like the team for me. And she's gotten into the system, she's registered, she's raised her hand, and she says, I'm ready to move forward. And she's submitted all the information, and she's like, I need some help. And you don't call her. And then she messages and says, I need some help. And you don't call her. What are we telling people? Now, I happen to know that that's what happened with his mother. And I mean, he just sat and looked at me, and I was like, you don't know who's on the other side and what their situation is and what kind of help they need. But you just told her that she doesn't need you and that you don't need her, because you didn't bother to pick up the phone and answer her, even though she raised her hand and she said, I need help. You said she wasn't worth your time because you were too scared to find out. Is that what we tell people?
How do you feel now, Bernadette?
Like
I'm sorry.
I'll definitely be calling people and answering requests.
We don't know.
More
Selena,
often.
that's a powerful story, a very powerful story.
Like, we just don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Some people suck and they register and they don't care and they say, I never registered on your site, and they're sucky people. But what about the people who need us?
Yeah.
What about the people who need us?
And the people who are jerks, I'm never going to see them again. They don't.
You're
know.
never going to see them again.
We're not-
Literally ever.
Yeah, and I
It's the
have
people
thick
who do.
skin, so I don't know. I mean, I was raised with thick skin, but I need.
You know what you say for those
I
people,
need to be
Bernadette?
liked. I need to be
Here's-
liked. For it affects
Here's what I want you to say to those people that hang up or whatever. Here's
Huh.
what you say. And put it real big on a piece of paper and put it
Okay.
over your desk or whatever.
Okay,
Next.
okay,
Next.
okay. No, so no
When they-
curse words, just next.
No curse words, just
Okay,
next.
same. Okay.
Over time, you're going to
Uh,
figure out exactly how many no's it takes to get to the yes.
Okay.
I'm with you, Bertie. There's every once in a while there is a curse word. So
Yeah.
Just The word is next. You just
Okay.
hang up and you're like, next.
Okay. And I'll do that. I
It's
think
more than
I'll-
every once in a while with her, though. I'm just,
Oh, the person-
I support her, but she can go to town.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna start doing, the 1, 2, 3, 5, how many no's I get before I get to a yes. I'll start.
You will start to get your numbers down. You'll be like, if
Yeah.
you're having a bad day and you're making calls, over time, you'll be like, okay, that was 12. I know 13 no's and I get to a yes. So I'm okay. I'm going to pick up another call
Yeah.
and I'm going to
Yeah.
make another call because 13 is my gold number.
Yeah.
And you'll feel good about it.
All right,
Yep.
good, great information. I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys more than you know.
Yeah.
No worries. Katrina, you had your hand up for a bit, darling. What's up? Katrina, you want to unmute and talk to
Okay,
me?
There,
you
I
go.
couldn't get it to unmute. I finally figured out, I kind of like dropped off the face of the earth for a little bit. We've been in the process of getting our own house ready for the market. And I think I figured out the reason why I never reached out to anyone was because I knew that we were probably moving out of state. And I didn't feel right creating that community and reaching out and building those relationships just to walk away from them. And we're even closer now to moving out of state, and we're working on a contract for deed for our home. But yet I'm feeling this pulling, like I just need to get out there and build relationships regardless of whether I'm moving or not, because I really don't know day to day. We don't have a date set yet. And
Yep.
anyway, so it was fear of like, what are these people going to think if I do this? And, why did I bother with her if she was just going to leave? And so anyway, I'm trying to get past that and
Yeah.
move forward.
So Katrina, when people want to work with you, they want to work with you because somehow they've become to know, like, and trust you. And as they've learned to know, like, and trust you, what they're knowing, liking, and trusting is the level of service you give. The level of service is trainable. You can teach people that, right? So if all of a sudden you do leave and you've been working with people, you're going to go, oh, you know what? I failed all along to introduce you to my business partner. Your business partner is whoever you decided is in the moment that you know, like, and trust in the industry that will take as good a care of them as you have. But
Okay.
yeah, I am with you on that because of Casey and I recently buying a home 2 hours from where the center of my main sales force is. And I kept kind of doing the same thing. Well, if I start, so I'm starting to build business out here, knowing that most of where I did. So I just left Wednesday morning and spent 2 days in the Bay Area to come so that I could have the rest of the weekend back here at our dream house. So I definitely feel what you're saying, but man, you got to go all the way out because a referral fee, as Debbie Pelham put in the chat group, is a lot better than no fee at all. And you would really, if you've taken them to a certain point, you can even say to your quote unquote business partner, let's split this 50-50. I've taken it all the way to the end, but I've got to get out of here. You got to finish the contract or whatever. So go for it. And it will help you build some momentum so that when you get to the new place you're going, that you're going to be in flow. Do you get that?
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
All right. Thanks.
All right. So last person with the hand up is Bruce, and then we're going to go on to what I wanted to talk a little bit about. And Selena, if you had any more, just feel free to unmute and start talking. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'll make it quick because I know you got to get to something.
No worries.
But this goes back to when you were talking about you perform better when somebody's watching you, you think somebody's watching you. My dad, in meetings number 68 and 42, I believe, on a rotation of 100, would tell us, do your job today as if there's a video camera on you all day, or there's a crew behind you all day. How would you like to watch that? And how would you like to see what that video looks like at the end of the day? Basically, you should be doing all the right things at all the right times and doing it. So that's something that I have to go back to, for instance, making the calls at the right time and things like that. So that's something that I think we all can use. And he was he was a great salesman. We were in the car business, and we all did well. And but that's something that I think really rings true in our industry. Just pretend like there's a camera on you, and then you got to watch it at the end of the day. For learning purposes and also for shaming yourself purposes at the same time. You don't want to look bad on camera. So
yeah, good. Thank you, Bruce. That is actually a really good mental image that you can give yourself, right? You know, it's actually, there's statistical proof that the way people have been acting in front of front doors when they go to knock on a door is completely different now that almost everybody has a camera at their front door. Like, seriously, there's statistical proof that people stand up straighter, you know, they're a little more aware that someone might be watching them, so they're, you know, presenting better. Just think for a moment. I had some Jehovah's Witnesses at my door when I wasn't home, and I had my phone went off, and I saw them, and I like to be polite because my wife is a Jehovah's Witness, right? And her parents, and the house that they're knocking on belongs to my wife's dad. And, you know, so hi, we're not home right now. How you guys doing? Good. Oh, we won't bother you. I go, no, I just wanted to say good morning. I was, you know, and they stopped and stood up straighter, faced the camera, right? Like, there's a lot of that. And we need to know that humanity. I listened to a psychologist when I was 10 years old, an album of a psychologist. He was a psychologist and a comedian. And he said, everybody grows up in their mind with this going on in their head. Mommy, watch me. Mommy, watch me. When kids are small, they say it. Mommy, watch me. When we get older, we don't have the courage to say it, but we all feel it. Watch me. I want to show you how good I am, right? And if now that you are thinking that there's somebody watching you, then now you have to prove how good you are, right? So there's a lot of that goes on inside of us. So I want you to think about that. And Bruce, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, real quick, real quickly, any thoughts, comments, questions, or ahas, hopefully to get some of you thinking about yourselves in that position before we move on. Remember, I'm not asking just for the 30 or so people on here. It's for the people that are going to be watching the recording long after this, that they're really getting it. What did Sherry say? Don't talk details in the house yours. Yeah, very good. That's a good one. Yes. Don't comment negatively about the house you're showing, because there's cameras and speakers everywhere now. And yeah, definitely about that. Thank you. Okay, any thoughts, comments, questions, ahas before I move on? All right, good. The reason I like to hear those is that means you're taking what's being said and applying it to yourself. That's the only reason we do these calls, not so anybody can just hear themselves talk, but so we can start applying it to our situation and making a difference. Now, one of the most important things about this is that there is still a lot of misconception about what's possible when it comes to your calendar. And still the majority of people in life use a calendar for in-person meetings only, or things that have to do with work or whatever they have, believe that calendar is for. This is for my my work. My calendar is my calendar for my life. All right. And as soon as you make your calendar for your life, more will get done in less time. And you've all met that person, haven't you? That person that miraculously gets so much done. Last night, we're getting ready to take Bubba out for his nighttime walk. And my wife took a long time to get ready by putting all kinds of layers on because it was cold outside. And she said, gosh, I'm just as slow as a Jiha now. So how do we take that, right? Like, so I started to look at that. Shut up, Bruce. So I started to look at that. Instead of being insulted by it, I said, where can I move a little quicker? And I don't move very quick when it's time to take Bubba to walk out, right? Like I go, because she doesn't let me wear shoes in my own house. And I don't like that, but I don't wear shoes in our house because Casey said so. So don't tell her I said that. So I have to go get my shoes. I like using a shoehorn to get them on. And then, anyway, it's a process. But the reason I said that is every little bit of what you plan and don't plan can be put in your calendar. And even like I have my basketball that happens, I get up at 4, I leave at 4:30 in the morning. Why do I need to put that? Nobody's looking for me at that time of the day. But do you know what? That between my drive, which is 4:30 a.m. to 5:05 a.m., 4:30 a.m. to 5:05 a.m. when I'm going to play basketball, it's a 35-minute drive, that I actually usually have 2 to 3 phone calls that I have scheduled in my calendar for that drive time for people either on Central or East Coast time, whether it's a past client, a real estate agent, whatever, that I'm going to connect with so that I am being productive at all times. And you might say, that's ridiculous. It's not. There are times when I like to listen to almost all genres of music. So I might have a country music morning while I'm driving for my 35 minutes. I might have a Pitbull morning where I'm driving for 35 minutes because I want to get more up and about, right? So everything is calendared. When I have an appointment in my schedule, I put the drive time ahead of it. I put a calendared schedule for drive time. Okay, so Wednesday morning, I was leaving here and I had an appointment in San Jose and the drive time was 1 hour and 18 minutes. I allowed 1 hour 45 in my calendar for that drive time. Always better to get there early and get set up early, right? So all of that, that's all calendared. Why am I saying this? Everything about our life, the more that gets calendared, the more that gets done. Do you sometimes miss out and not remember to do something even though it was in your calendar? When I'm asking myself that question, the answer is always yes, I have forgotten to do things. But I was in an appointment yesterday and a bunch of alarms started going off on my phone, and I apologized to Mike, the guy I was in the appointment with, and I said, Mike, I'm so sorry. These things are in my calendar, but I also set alarms because sometimes I forget to look at my calendar. And he leans in, he goes, oh my God, I do the same thing. Because we know our demons. We know that we set a calendar and we forget to do it. So if you truly want to have a magnificent 2023, start right now by changing your calendar habits. This is a big, big deal. Start to put everything that you want to do in your calendar. You want to have alone time with one of your kids, calendar it. Let's say you have multiple kids and you want to have alone time with one of them, calendar it. Calendar the alone time with the other kid, right? Calendar the date night. Your date night with your significant other, calendar it. But if you calendar it, then guess what it means? You've got to communicate it to the other. When I do a date night now that Casey's not aware of, I send her a calendar invite for date night. Okay. And then if I don't get the acceptance, I'll say, hey, did you see that? And she'll go, yeah, I'll accept it in a second. It's all good. Okay. Yes. Selena said it perfect. It's being intentional. And when I think about my past life and my first marriage, my ex-wife used to like to say, I want to do things more spontaneous. And I said, spontaneity comes out of structure. In other words, if I have an appointment and it cancels and it's in my calendar, then guess what? I can be spontaneous in that 2-hour slot that I had for that appointment. So there's a lot to be said about structure in every aspect of your life. And the more structured, I had a business coach tell me that probably in 2000, I want to say 9 or 10, maybe 11, who said, the more someone else is in charge of your calendar, the more free your life begins to be. So as I started looking at it, now I have literally hundreds of hours a month that are not hundreds, but quite a few hours in a month that are out there for anybody to schedule 30 minutes with me on my Calendly link, which means I got to be really strict so that somebody can randomly go in and put 30 minutes in there. I got to know that that's going to be okay, which means the stuff I need to get done is calendared already because it won't put a slot where there's already a slot taken. So you start to have a very, very high level of respect for yourself and your calendar and the value you bring to your time. I'm going to say that again, the value you bring to your time. I'm listening to what Bernadette said today, and Bernadette's about to make herself much more valuable in the time she has allotted because she's going to change her habits around making phone calls. Do you get that? Yes. And again, Selena's talking about time blocking, and time blocking is chunks of time that cannot be moved unless something much more important or more strategic towards your goals comes along. And then they say, if you must erase, you must replace. So if you have lead generation time, but that's the only time you can go to that listing appointment, you erase it, but you have to replace it in the same day. Okay. If you replace, you must, if you erase, you must replace. These are kind of theories and thoughts about time management and balancing your life within your calendar. A lot of people would like to say, well, I'll work all week. Remember, I said this before. I said, you're not going to kiss your significant other, I love you and goodbye, on Monday morning, and then say, I'll see you on Saturday night. That ain't going to work. It's not going to work in your relationship. It's not going to work for your balance in your life. It's not going to work for your health. But generally, if you say, what I'd like in my life is all of these things, and how can I put a little of all those things into each day? All right. So I'm going to ask you this. Where is your lead generation hour scheduled? Meaning you turn off your phone, no distractions. I'm not looking at text messages. I'm lead generating for an hour. Okay, where is that time slot? And is it immovable? Next, what time is it? Somebody give me a time. I can't see the time.
9:57.
Oh, we got to wrap up in 2. God dang, I talked a lot today. Sorry, guys. And then I might say, where is my 30 minutes of catch-up time in my calendar where I'm going to catch up on voicemails, emails? Put that in your calendar. People say, oh, I catch up on that when I'm between appointments. No, it is an appointment for me to catch up on my emails and my voicemails, to send some replies. It's a calendared item. Everything is. Do you get that? And when I set a coaching call, most of my coaching calls go between a half hour and 45 to 50 minutes. I still put an hour because at some point I got to go to the bathroom, guys. Like I got to go take a break, get a drink of water. So everything is calendared. My time off, my time with family, my time with friends, my work time, all of it is. So look, we're going to talk more about this in future calls as we move towards having the year of our lives. So what I would like from you is when I'm going to get anybody that wants their, I'm going to put my email address in the whatchamacallit again, right here. And if you want to email me to make sure that your email is on the list to get these recordings, then I'm going to ask you to do so. Now, we have promised in the past to get you some of the information from Workman and that we've talked about in the past couple of calls. And so far, we don't have permission to share it. So as soon as we do, we will soon. We'll send that all out to all of you. So I apologize for saying I could share something. Selena's the one who reminded me, wait, you better check with Workman, make sure it's all allowed to be shared. Let's see, Katrina, what did you say? No, the listing consultation date, I'm not sure what it is, but I'll be putting it in the email of the week before we do the call so everybody will know. Again, email me, guys, if you want your name added to the email list so you can get the email. They usually go out on Monday or Tuesday of the week before the Friday coaching call. All right, last minute comments, thoughts, questions, ahas, anyone? Throw it out, guys.
Thank you so much for all your wisdom. This was a terrific call. I needed this. It was right on time.
Thank you, Debbie, very much. I appreciate that you're on. I know you're a hard worker, so.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, have a great first weekend of the new year. Well, really last weekend was, but Enjoy it, get some work done, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks on this call. All right. God bless.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
thank you.